Coming up on today's show, we're going to discuss some Disney news. We're going to talk about Inside Out 2, and we're going to give our preview of D23, the Parks panel. That's coming up today on Traveling with the Mouse. Welcome, everyone, to episode number 460 of Traveling with the Mouse. My name is Adam, and I am your host this week. And I am joined, as always, by John.
Oh, there's a big surprise. That's an incredible surprise. I'm going to have a heart attack and die from that surprise.
That's supposed to be Iago.
Yeah, I can't do Iago. Who can do
Gilbert
the late,
Godfrey.
great Gilbert Godfrey? Yes.
Nobody.
Hard. It's
Nobody.
very unique. Very unique voice.
Yeah. Can your wings do this? Okay. Yeah.
That's actually what made me think of that, because I was thinking, I couldn't think of any lines other than that, I guess, from...
Under new management.
Yeah.
Because
I was reminded of it the other day from somebody. Was it Parkeology? They
Could have
had
been.
some kind of...
Or retro WDW or something.
It was one of the two.
Yeah.
That had a
frequent them.
piece. I do. I really enjoy Parkeology's posts on Twitter or X.
Mhm.
Excuse me.
Yeah, they post a lot of good old, retro
Old
type
stuff lately.
stuff you haven't thought about in a long time, or like, oh yeah,
Some
I
cases
remember that.
in some cases they get new information that I don't I never actually noticed or thought about before.
Yeah.
So
And since we're plugging them and retro WDW, they
at the same time.
they've released some videos recently of some old. They acquire people's like vacation videos from the 80s or 70s or
Yes.
90s in some cases.
I haven't
And,
submitted any.
There was a couple recently from the 80s that, you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, that's interesting. Like, some things have changed a lot and some things really haven't. And you look at some old videos, but mostly the people's clothing has changed a lot. Like what?
Well, yeah.
In the 70s, people like dressed up to go to Disney. They're like wearing like button-down shirts and stuff.
Yeah, I recall.
Blacks.
I made this comment the other day. We were talking about basketball, I think, and how the shorts were short, right? Like they were pretty far up, right? And the socks were up to the knees, and it's like over time they just like swapped, like they went the other direction. Like the socks got shorter and the shorts got longer.
Yeah,
like
which I'm kind of okay with. Kind of okay with that. That was a good choice on that one.
And just saying this, it was just a matter of how it was. I had those socks all the way up to my knees, and those shorts were pretty short actually.
Yeah, I've seen
when we were kids.
From the 80s. Yeah. Something I haven't talked about that just popped into my head. I haven't mentioned much about it other than the fact that I am signed up for the Disney World Half Marathon in January 2025.
And you plan on wearing booty shorts?
No.
Oh, okay. I just wonder what made you think of that.
Well, when you said long socks, I have signed up for a different race. There's a racetrack 5K in Atlanta in September that I'm doing, but you have to wear like crazy socks. It's like to benefit the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's. And I actually have a Traveling with the Mouse team that I built for that. So if anybody wanted to join, I guess I can
built
post
a team.
Yeah. It's only me right now because I just signed up for it. But
I don't think I'll be able to join, but
it's at the Battery, the Atlanta Braves stadium is where it starts.
Yes.
So Truist Park, I should say, where it starts. And I think you end like on the field, maybe. That's what I heard. But anyway, yes, I am trying to train for this Disney World Half Marathon in January. It's the first one I've ever attempted, so I am working towards that. If that would be interesting content to update people on, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I've never tried I've done a 5K before, but that's it. half marathon is a lot
new
further.
territory.
It's a lot further. So I'll obviously talk a lot more about it as it gets closer. But also, we saw Inside Out too, or I saw it. You saw it way before I did, but
Yes, I saw it almost 3 weeks ago now, maybe. Yeah, somewhere.
do you
in that
remember
neighborhood. I think I do. I think I have the gist.
Yeah. It was about a week ago now as we're recording this for me, so roughly. But I thought it was great. Yeah, I can see why it's made so much money.
Well, I mean, it was,
Good.
it was a good story. It was entertaining. I mean, it's just everything you can ask for in a film.
Yes.
Something you don't see much of anymore, unfortunately.
Yes. As someone who has dealt with anxiety, it really did a great job of depicting that in a visual way, in a funny way too, and
Maybe
at times serious.
I was gonna say maybe that's one of the reasons why it was so successful, because I think you just described like 70% of the country or something.
Yeah, like today's generation for sure, I mean, again, you've gone through a lot.
Well, some of it's self-inflicted, to be quite honest, but yeah.
Well, I mean, we don't have to go into all that, but the point is, it was relevant to today's world. I could relate, but it was also, I don't know, a great story. I thought it was really well told, and I don't know if we want to go into spoilers or not, but
so to start off, what level do you put it on in comparison to the originals?
I hadn't seen the original in a while, but I thought this one was on the same level or maybe a little bit better, but probably the same level.
I can't say that I like one over the other. I really think that they're kind of equal. I don't say that too often about films, obviously, because most of the time, I mean, let's just face it, the majority of the time, the sequel does not live up to the original. And there are some cases in which the sequel was better than the original, but this one, I feel like it's, consistently, it's on the same level. I mean, it doesn't,
I would say that's true. Maybe because I have a soon-to-be middle schooler that I feel like it hits home a little more. I definitely felt it more. There was some parts I got a little misty-eyed.
What part would that be?
It was towards the end when, especially the anxiety kind of took over and was trying to fix everything, and that part. And then Joy's like
without giving away too much.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Spoiler.
Gotcha.
But I mean, like, everyone's seen it by now, right? But yeah, that part towards the end was really, really. There's a lot of little moments too here and there that hit home.
So really, okay. So the question becomes now, obviously, now that it's been successful, so they're going to incorporate it, especially as IP heavy as they claim to, which I don't understand. They take too long to capitalize on IP for whatever reason.
They really have been,
and for being so, like, saying they want to be IP is where we're going with everything. They kind of drag their feet. It's like they have trouble striking when the iron's hot, right? Like the relevancy has diminished some by the time something actually comes out.
Yeah,
that's a bit of an issue.
Right, it is. And just to clarify, on Box Office Mojo, as of the recording of this, worldwide $1.4 billion, domestically $600 million.
So see, to me, if I'm Disney and I hear these numbers, or I see where these numbers are going, right?
Yeah.
I put anything else I have in the works on the back burner, and I focus on getting this in an attraction or something.
Right.
Why would you not do that?
You could also, as we've talked about, you could dust off Cranium Command and throw
modernize
in
it. Modernize it, because it's already the setup was already based almost on what the movie does.
Right. Very similar.
Except it was different parts of the body that they were utilizing in Cranium Command, but you can take that setup and incorporate the emotions, or I guess that's what you would call that they are, right? In there. So
what other kind of ride, because Cranium Command is more of a show type experience, what about a dark ride or a simulator type ride? I don't know. What type of ride would suit this film best?
Well, I think we just described what would suit it best. It has like that environment that would do it. I could actually see them utilizing the old Cranium Command Theater if it's still, somewhat in place.
Usable.
Then, like I said, upgrade it.
Possibly.
That would give you an existing space, so you don't have to spend too much time on building, right?
Like we just said, strike while the iron's hot, right?
Yes.
Doesn't take 3 years to build something.
Or you could even probably find a way to incorporate the old. Well, they've probably already taken the stuff out for that. I think they've taken most of the Body War stuff out, so you probably can't utilize that. Those simulators.
I think I've always heard too that Star Tours has gotten all the spare parts or anything that Body War's ever had. So it's like there's no way.
Is there any simulators left?
Probably not. Yeah.
I seem like I remember seeing one still intact, though. Of course, that was way back when I forgot that guy's name, when YouTube would sneak into places. Yeah, he snuck into a couple of things. I don't think he is.
What happened to that kid? Anyway, don't want to.
I think he still exists, but I can't remember his name now. He was also the one that snuck into
Discover
Everest.
Island and
Everest,
Discover Island.
Snuck in and got good footage of the Yeti.
Yeah, but come on. Waltz plane. Yeah. Well, I'm promoting him, but
I don't remember the Waltz plane. Well, we can't think of his name, so it's hard to promote him.
Well, people could probably Google.
Look up the stuff that we're talking about. Yeah,
I'm assuming it's still out there, but
it is actually. This that's the surprising part. If he gets in trouble for all this, but yet his content can remain for some reason. I don't know. I can't figure that one out. But that's kind of a good discussion there for D23.
D23. I was going to say it kind of leads into that. I guess we can go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, we can do it a little bit. Why not? I'm sure we have some other news that we wanted to get into because there's not like there's anything that happened in the world of the parks at all.
Yeah. Maybe we'll save that for last since it's the craziest so far. But yeah, Inside Out 2, that would be something that I think it's probably too early for them to mention anything about it, but maybe they could do a blue sky about Inside Out 2 coming somewhere.
It's possible. They didn't capitalize on a couple of things the best way they possibly could. So, say for instance, Lion King, as big as it was, the best thing that it got starting out was the show, right? Or what was it called? The Legend of the Lion King.
Right.
Was the first thing that it got. And of course, when Animal Kingdom opened, it got Festival of the Lion King, which still is popular to this day.
Yeah.
But it never really got in anything other than a show for being as successful a film as it was at the time.
Yeah.
Which is a little on the surprising side.
That there was no dark ride or some kind of...
Or at least an attraction, of some involving something more than a show. I mean, I guess is the best thing I know. Because when you think about the movies that did get it, like you had people that it was retroactive, obviously, that it happened later instead of when it should have, but like The Little Mermaid getting a dark ride, right?
Yeah. That's why I think Inside Out 2 could be a cool dark ride or trackless ride type.
It could, but I end up finding the ones that get a little too screen heavy these days just doesn't quite do it for me, I guess.
Yeah, it would probably be pretty screen heavy. It'd be like Ratatouille. There'd be a few areas where it would be animatronics, but a lot of screens probably involved.
Like, I think one that does a good balance is, I think Rise does a good balance, actually, of screens to props.
Yeah, there's not a ton of screens in Rise, yeah.
I haven't actually experienced it, but the absolute best balance that I have seen so far is that Universal Secret Life of Pets out in California. We have not actually experienced it, but from what I've seen on video, I thought that was the best mix of real and screens that I have seen so far. It was like just a perfect combination. Just like it's kind of like one of the things that Disney did well when they took over the Star Wars franchise. Whereas, like, if you look at the prequels, just how CGI heavy everything is, and then whenever they did the sequels, they kind of balanced it out better,
Yeah, that's true.
Even though they were lacking in story, but they balanced out the CGI better.
Yeah, they made them more feel like the original Star Wars in a way, the way they were shot.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
In some ways,
they realized, hey, you don't have to turn everything into CGI.
Right. Yeah, when you see the behind the scenes of Revenge of the Sith, especially like the Mustafar fight between Obi-Wan and And
Yeah,
again, it's
all the
like
lava and everything. It's
blue.
pretty
Like,
bad.
there's nothing. They're just on a blue soundstage. There's just zero
Yeah, no
any
physical sets.
props. Nothing. It's just a blue set that's around. But anyway.
And not only that, the technology at the time was still semi-new, right? And I think he just went overboard
Yeah.
with it. Because it wasn't even the best it would get either.
Right.
You know, so.
It was pretty, I mean, it holds up pretty well for the most part. There's a few duds in there.
His colleague did better in the way he did it too, like with Jurassic Park. Like it was one of the earliest ones that you really utilized it. And it was hard to tell in some cases, right? Because he did a good mixture as well.
You mean the first Jurassic? Oh,
the first one, yeah. The first one was one of the first ones to utilize that technology, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Or well, I think Terminator 2 also did a little bit before it, but
because they were going to use stop motion puppets for the T-Rex, but clearly the CGI, won out. It looked way better, and the final product still looks good to me.
Well, like I said, the first film of that era that I remember getting credited, I think it actually won awards for special effects, was T2, was Terminator 2.
Oh yeah,
so
very good.
Yeah. Anyway,
D23. I think we got a little
derailed a little.
There's a few questions here to help us with this conversation that our friends at AI put together.
Our friends. Wait a minute. We just mentioned Terminator 2 and we're talking about making friends with AI. Come on now.
Yeah, I know, right? They're not going to take over anything.
Right.
So what new attraction or ride do you think Disney will announce, and where will it be located? So I guess more specifically, what detailed ride or attraction do you think we'll hear about?
Well, we've already had the previous, whatever you want to call that, last year. We had a lot of blue sky.
Yeah, we haven't gotten much specific yet, so I'm hoping for a lot more specifics. I think most likely it would be like the Encanto, whatever that attraction's going to be.
So maybe at least this year we'll have a couple of planes in the sky.
Yeah, right. More than just blue sky.
Yeah. So you would like to think that they would follow up on what they're going to put beyond Big Thunder.
Yeah.
You would like to think that they would follow up a little bit on what's going to go in the whatever we're going to call Dinoland now.
Central Americas or something?
Well, I mean, they need to come up with a better name than that.
There is a title, I think, but I don't know.
It's probably a working title.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the
I don't think that's what
title.
It's officially going to be called. You can't call it Adventureland, even though it's going to kind of sound like it's going to be kind of like that, it looks like. Encanto of some kind obviously goes over there, right? I would like to think that they're going to give us a little more on exactly what type of attraction they're going to put, because what would have been rumored all this time was Casita, right? Was using the house.
Yep. And that's in all the concept art.
Yeah.
Even some leaked concept art shows a close-up of it.
I would think that would be kind of a fun attraction. You could think of it similar to
a walkthrough, you mean?
Well, kind of like the tree house, but more advanced, like more today, more now. Like the base concept is similar to the tree house, but it's going to be more interactive and
so like Journey of Water, but in the house in a way.
I think Journey of Water it's a good attraction on its own, but it's meant to be, as we mentioned earlier, it's meant to be more like the old Epcot, the educational side of it. Whereas I think doing Casita would be more fun, if that makes sense. Like it's the whole purpose of it. It'll be more into the film.
The thing I don't love about Journey of Water is when it is crowded, there's no formality to walking through each section. You kind of people just kind of cut around, and if there's a spot, they'll jump into it versus like following, you know what I mean? Like if it was a ride, you would have to go here, 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 here. But since it's a walkthrough, you kind of follow that pattern, but people end up just kind of filling in whatever space is available, and you don't really get to see everything or experience it all, when it's crowded anyway. I don't know.
Are all the effects still working? Hopefully.
They were. They've had to like do some work on some of them already, but as that whole area of Epcot frequently has either lights that don't work or... But anyway. Tropical Americas, back to Animal Kingdom. Indiana Jones, I've heard that it's not going to be an exact, complete duplicate of Forbidden Eye in Disneyland. But
Well, it is, but it isn't.
right, the track will be very similar, obviously, but the theming might be a little different. They might go in a different direction.
I think they'll change the story. I think there will be some elements from the original that they will use, but they'll kind of change the surroundings somewhat.
It could be Crystal Skull. I mean, the pyramid makes me think Crystal Skull.
It does, but I don't know why they would do a failed film, basically. I mean, that's essentially what it is. It didn't do that well, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
was the opening to Raiders in South America, right? So kind of could make sense. Tropical Americas could make sense.
It could.
So you could do like the whole cave scene and have the boulder still and all that. Make it Raiders.
It's possible, but I just knowing the way Disney has done things as of recent, they're probably, unfortunately, going to want to do a new story once again.
Right. Set it in a different timeline and...
Yes. I mean, because think about this. Even with the original Indiana Jones ride in Disneyland, right? It technically was a new adventure because they were called the Temple of the Forbidden Eye, right?
Right.
But they did at least incorporate things that people were familiar with, like the boulder.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So they did do that. It's almost like and all they used music. You have a scene where you're getting shot at by the darts, kind of like in Raiders.
Raiders.
So they incorporated stuff from the film, even though they called it a whole new story, but they still put people in things that they're familiar with. I mean, to be honest with it, from going to one thing to the next, it doesn't exactly flow very well as far as a story goes. But then again, it doesn't have to because it's Indiana Jones and it's nonstop action. Yeah. So you can go from one place to the next. At least all those elements fit into a temple.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's the thing. That's the only thing that mattered.
Yeah.
So
that's why you can incorporate stuff from the Disneyland attraction and it still be Raiders theme. You just add an indie animatronic getting the idol with the sand, whatever. I don't know.
Speaking of which, that was one of the ones Parkology did, I think today, right? Was a scene from Temple of the Forbidden Eye.
I haven't seen that one yet.
We were talking about like whenever the attraction like breaks down or whatever, in that one scene, it looks like Indy's looking at his watch. Is he looking at his wrist like that? Yes. I think it was. They were saying how it was incorporated into it on purpose that way.
Oh,
so it's like,
really? Is that like the B mode of that animatronic?
I guess.
Interesting.
He's like looking at his watch, like time going on, like you were still stopped and you're still sitting there.
Why are you still here?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's definitely one thing I think we'll hear. Next question. Do you think Disney will bring back or update a classic attraction? Now, we've teased about this.
Well, we already know that they are bringing back elements, at least, of a classic attraction in the redo of Test Track. So
yeah, they've said that. Hopefully, they'll give us some more details on that, too. I would love to hear more.
On exactly what they would bring back.
We've gotten very little about it so far, so I definitely want to hear more about it.
I'm hopeful that there will be more than I think there's going to be. I really feel like it's going to be very mild what they bring in, truthfully.
Yeah. If the last 2 years have told us anything, it's don't have high expectations, but...
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have started doing a good bit of nods to older stuff, including making people question things with the tagline of this D23, right? Calling it Horizons.
Yeah. I mean, the Horizons, we talked about this last week, our hope would be that they could bring back a Horizons or a new version of Horizons, but
or at least one
highly doubt that.
Yeah, one based on it.
Yeah. It would suggest that they're teasing something like that, but again, I would not expect that. But I would love to see it.
Yeah. The concept, as we've mentioned, is still very much a possibility of being used. They could use some of the elements and it still be the future.
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, a lot of that has not come to fruition.
Yeah. Carousel of Progress also, we talked about that too. It'd be cool if they finally decided to make some changes to the show, update some of those animatronics really, but also I think it needs a refresh, even though, yes, you're touching something that was, original Walt and all that. There's some scariness around that.
I find it hard to believe that there is a significant piece of that $17 billion that's going to be devoted to Carousel of Progress.
Yeah, but I mean, they were talking about doing it for the 50th, but that had to, be put on
So,
hold.
yeah, a couple of things happened in between there.
A little bit, little thing.
Just a little pandemic.
Speaking of the $17 billion, I think now that the whole Florida thing is behind them, it seems they've kind of settled all that. Now maybe they can kind of go full steam ahead. So hopefully we will get more.
Well, I think that's the intention. I mean, that's what they're definitely
Right.
moving forward.
I think they wanted to get that out of the way so that they actually could talk about stuff.
It was all going to eventually anyway. It was all part of it. I mean, it was going to
Yeah.
eventually. So,
And I think I've said this before, but Iger being back probably helped that process.
it definitely helped keep whatever it is out of the spotlight.
Yeah, he's done good with getting that settled, I think. Will there be any significant changes to existing lands like Galaxy's Edge or Avengers Campus?
Okay, well, here we go. Because the Galaxy's Edge is coming up on being 5 years this year. Matter of fact, in September will be 5 years since it's been opened.
Mm-hmm.
Is that time to mess with it a little? Who knows? It's kind of not lived up to its original hype at all, especially since part of it was going to be surrounded by the Star Cruiser experience, which is now defunct.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to be that they're going to be doing anything with it anytime soon, from the sounds of things. In some ways, that's a bit of a shame, but honestly, for whatever reason, the Star Cruiser faded into the background so quickly. Like the hype around it didn't even last very long.
Right.
So, for whatever reason,
I would love to see some of that make its way into Galaxy's Edge. It would be nice after 5 years to have something new show up. So, yeah. I thought you were talking about Avengers Campus too, but
no. Well, Avengers Campus hasn't been there 5 years, not yet. No, it's relatively new.
It is rumored that we'll get some kind of e-ticket announcement there or details on it. They teased it last time that there would be a big, like, Avengers attraction.
So, we'll see, but it looks like Disneyland is potentially going to have a cast member strike from what I saw.
I did see that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's started yet that I know of. I don't remember seeing any more news on it.
Yeah. They probably want to get that out of the news before D23, but I don't know.
I'm sure that would be Iger's preference.
Right.
Then again, I don't obviously because we've not seen as much about it. The media hasn't really hung on to it yet by any means.
I mean, there's been a few other things to talk about in the news in general, but yeah, I've seen some things about it, but not a lot.
Yeah.
If that happens around D23 too, that would not be a good look.
Well, D23 is upon us.
Yeah.
What was this question that we were answering?
It was about
again specifically
significant changes to existing lands.
Oh, significant changes to existing. Okay, that's right. I remember now.
Pandora, I would love to hear about, say, Flight of Passage getting updated or something, but
well, you say significant changes to existing lands. Isn't Beyond Big Thunder kind of? I guess in a way, it's kind of going to be a new land, but it really does affect the existing frontier land, right?
Yeah,
that's a land starting to lose its identity,
right?
So who knows what they're going to do going forward?
It would be nice to hear more on Big Thunder's closing. We're going to add the ending scene, the dynamite scene, and it's going to reopen with a new entrance to a new land, or maybe details about what Frontierland is going to actually be.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard rumors like Radiator Springs Racers. We've heard Coco.
Yeah, something. I feel like something Coco related would possibly go there. Coco, the most obvious choice would be doing something in Mexico and Epcot, really, for Coco. But
yeah,
I don't think they have any immediate desire to, say, for instance, change Grand Fiesta Tour. I don't think.
I mean, they could. There's no queue for that attraction at all. So if they tried to make something more popular, they would have to figure out how to make a longer queue and add a lightning lane or whatever. So it's like, is it worth the effort?
That's probably the shortest. That's the shortest queue I think of any attraction. That's not outside of maybe like, what's it called? Triceratops spin, maybe. It's pretty short.
Yeah, I was thinking teacups too, short. Those are kind of the two, or carousel. I mean, of course,
But the thing is, I'm looking at those lines go back and forth a little longer. I think they're still longer than
might be.
I started to say El Real del Tempo. Ground Fiesta Tour. I went way back in time. I went way back in the river of time. Get it?
Aha. You sure did. You used the river of time.
I know they're going all in on IP, but the more I think about trying to incorporate the IP in some of the places that I do, I really wish they would do an original story somewhere.
Yeah, well, we know that's not happening, but unless, like we said,
Horizons. Doesn't seem to be.
If Horizons happens, 2.0, but I doubt it.
The only way an original idea is coming right now is if leadership changes. And by that, I mean probably somebody that's not even in the company currently. So
right.
That's about the only way that's happening.
Yeah, like, so Carousel of Progress probably won't get anything unless, is there an IP that could take you through the history of, like,
they could take it over.
The Incredibles or something?
It's in the process of being made. That's what it is. They have to bake it into it. They have to think of it in terms of what can we fit in a ride, and then make it a movie first. Then they can go around with the right concept.
Right. As long as it's a hit movie.
Right. As long as it turns into a hit. So they have to start out with it being a film or television show. So
they could make a Carousel of Progress movie about a family that travels in time.
They could go back and revisit that concept that they did with Pirates and Country Bears and Haunted Mansion. Yeah, sure.
So Johnny Depp will be the dad, or I don't know. Who's going to be?
Johnny Depp will be the dad.
He's old enough now. Oh. No.
He could be the granddad.
Yeah, actually, he's just about. Okay.
He is 60 now.
All right. There's several more questions I can get through.
Go ahead.
What new themed lands do you think Disney could add? So we've talked already about the ones we know about, but
well, with the money, right, that they say they're going to invest, obviously the talk of a fifth park has reemerged, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the long-term plans, right? Having a major park and then mini parks or whatever.
What's the possibility that they at least blue sky, so to speak, this idea at D23 and maybe mention what it could be involved around?
Yes.
Like, of course, the biggest idea that has been brought about by the fan base, at least anyway, in the last 20 years or more, has been villains based park.
So they did tease a villains land at Magic Kingdom,
right? They're not gonna put that beyond Big Thunder though, are they? They say that's what they thought about.
Well, the rumor would be that it would connect to Beyond Big Thunder via the, like, going behind Haunted Mansion or around Haunted Mansion, the Rivers of America side. I don't know. I think it could definitely be done.
It could. What villains would you focus on if you were going to do a villains land?
Maleficent.
See, it's weird because Maleficent is one of the first ones people think of, even though she hasn't really been relevant in a storyline in quite some time.
You could do a dark ride centered around Scar. Interesting. Jafar might be a good one to do, like some kind of.
Scar has always been one of my favorite villains.
Now, why hasn't Aladdin gotten its own, like, dark ride versus spinning
I said
carpets?
that years ago.
Yeah. I think we even talked about a magic carpet version of some kind of ride, but
some sort of a thrill ride involving the magic carpet. Yeah,
could do a coaster, carpets coaster.
Yeah,
anyway. And Disney wouldn't do that, but unless it was an indoor coaster, or you could.
You know, I actually was talking about this today whenever Disney Quest was brought up. So, you know, one of the first things that I wanted to do whenever I first went to Disney Quest was the virtual carpet, the virtual reality carpet thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when the day was all said and done, the thing that I walked away enjoying the most was the Battle for Buccaneer Gold.
You're right.
That was the funnest attraction there.
Mm-hmm.
Was doing that. So
Pirates.
Yeah,
the Jungle Cruise one was kind of, or whatever it was. What was it?
It was a virtual reality. It was kind of fun too.
You paddle through the.
Yeah, you're
rapids,
paddling
whatever.
through that thing in the rapids and everything. Actually, I had the paddle like bounce back and I like jacked myself in the jaw with it one time when I was doing that.
Yes.
Like to knock myself out with a paddle. I did. I'm serious. I thought you were there for that.
Yes, I was. I remember that. I do
Yeah.
remember that. What other villains? Let's see. Villains. There's, I don't know, plenty you could come up with. The
Plenty of
I don't know.
villains. Hades,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Dr. Facilier.
Yeah. Just have villains roaming the land too. That'd be cool. Like different villains.
Yeah.
Talk about the Halloween party too. That would
The only thing
make
is with the villains, like a villain's land or even a villain's theme park, I don't think you could do an entire theme park truthfully centered around villains. But doing a villain's land, like they're already involved in a lot of the rides with the movie that they're related to, right? So how can you, I mean, what, you can't give them another attraction, can you, devoted just to them? I mean,
yeah. And then when they prevail, like you can't make the villain win, right? So yeah,
maybe they could do a concept similar to that old villains game that was on CD-ROM. What was that called? You remember it? There was some kind of a villains game on the computer.
Stop that Cheshire Cat, that one.
Yeah, it was involved in there. But it was some kind of a villains game.
The Queen, I mean,
something where like all the Disney villains are somehow like trying to trap you or something, doing something against the guest.
I vaguely remember that.
The guest is playing the hero type deal.
Yeah. So, do you think there will be any new technology or innovation introduced? I mean, they have filed some patents that look pretty cool, but
it's always possible. I can't think of anything specific right off the top of my head.
Yeah. I mean,
truth be told, they haven't really fully utilized the technology that they have. Not when it comes to Disney World, at least anyway, because a lot of the technology that they have utilized overseas has been pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking at the Frozen attraction at took the effect of really it's on his cape that's like frozen, and then it's a simple little effect, but it makes it look so good.
It's done well.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks really good.
The Tangled attraction, I saw it that actually. Even though that's kind of short and it's almost like it goes into only parts of the movie. It didn't really go too deep into the actual film. And it felt like it was rushed a little bit, but the parts you do get to see are pretty impressive.
Yeah.
As far as the animatronics go and the scene with the floating lights,
Oh, yeah.
But seemed awfully short to me. Yeah. What it was. Didn't go into very many scenes of the movie. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. It'd be nice if they added some rides like that to Magic Kingdom, but
yeah,
they keep trying to cut costs here.
In the case of Tokyo, the Oriental Land Company owning it actually helps somewhat in that situation. Shanghai, there's got to be some kind of a deal with Shanghai because they seem to be getting really good stuff too. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah. Well, we can only hope for the table scraps of what they have, but we'll see.
Well, they did bring Tron and Ratatouille, right? I mean,
so it makes you wonder if they will do more of that. Because like the Beauty and the Beast ride would be, I'd much rather have that than be our guest restaurant. But just saying.
Isn't it funny to believe though that they've taken this long just to use the trackless technology in the U.S. parks? It took this long. Like it's been around for like 25 years.
Yeah. It does seem to break down a lot though.
It depends on how it's used. Does Ratatouille break down that much? I don't think it does.
It breaks down a decent amount. I mean, it's not like as bad as Rises, but it does break down a decent amount. Mickey and Minnie's breaks down frequently as well. I mean, not like for huge amounts of time, but it breaks down often.
Maybe it was running on CrowdStrike.
Yeah, gosh, don't even. Could be. Simple update. We'll just make it run smoother.
Yes.
One of the cast members said that at Rise Under Resistance, but it seems like all the trackless rides is people either unintentionally or sometimes intentionally dropping stuff out of the ride vehicle, and it causes problems.
Sometimes getting out in some cases.
Possibly, yeah.
But that has happened in Japan, wasn't it? With the Zootopia.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, right, that did happen. Or a kid fell out or something.
I think they escaped the vehicle because the argument or the story was about the restraints.
Yeah. All right. What changes and additions do you think are coming to nighttime at the parks?
Nighttime.
Anything nighttime different? I would love to see Paint the Night in Walt Disney World, but I don't think that's going to happen.
It's got some age on it now, and it's not like it's an original. It's not like it's a groundbreaking one like the Main Street Electrical Parade or anything that people are.
Well, it was kind of a sequel to the Main Street Electrical Parade, right? I mean,
kind of. Well, that's what I'm saying, though. It's not one that people. It's again one of those things.
They don't revere it as much.
Right, but it's also one of those things that if you're going to utilize it, you got to strike at the right time.
Yeah, so, I mean, they would probably have to update some of the IP, and
yeah.
Still,
when can I see you again?
I loved that parade. It was great. But anyway, yeah, I can't think of anything really.
You know, it's hard to believe that Owl City actually became popular with, he was just a guy like, I don't know, using a a Casio or whatever.
Right.
That's pretty much what he used.
Yeah.
He created all those
Fireflies.
songs or music basically with that initially anyway. I'm sure he utilized more equipment later after he got popular, but
yeah.
Proof that you can start anywhere and make it.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Do you think Disney will announce any major updates on Disney? Lightning Lane. This is out of date. Because, yes, they already did. We'll talk about that in a minute.
AI needs to keep up with the times.
Yeah. Any new dining experiences or restaurants you hope they will announce? Well, if they do a Villains Land, I would love to see a Haunted Mansion restaurant come to
that would
Magic
be neat.
Kingdom.
The Haunted Mansion themed restaurant would be pretty cool.
Tiana's, if they bring it to Magic Kingdom, I would love for them to go ahead and announce that. They're going to do replace Pecos Bills.
Trying to think of any like uniquely themed restaurants that that haven't been done yet would be a good idea, but I can't really think of any.
Yeah, I would love to see Magic Kingdom get better food, but
well, I was just thinking along those if they add, say, something Coco related. I mean, you could if they've already done lots of different Mexican cuisine there, although none of them particularly great.
Yeah.
Well, with the I don't know, I take that back. Some of the what is it? La Hacienda is actually quite good.
Yeah, the outdoor one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't know. I need to give the San Angel Inn.
Yeah, the indoor one.
I need to give it a chance because I've never even given it a chance. I've always kind of based it on what other people think about it. I feel like I need to give it a fair shake when I'm there.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've eaten there, and it wasn't great, but that was like 10 years ago. So,
and you can get some Mexican cuisine, of course, at Coronado.
Yeah, well, Three Bridges is great, but other than that,
the Three Bridges doesn't really have Mexican cuisine. I mean, I guess you can get some there, but
yeah,
it's a mixture.
Like
best burger on property, right?
Yeah,
or one of the best.
One of the best. Yeah, very good. All right. Do you expect any big surprises or shock announcements? I hope so. I hope there'll be a couple.
I mean, it would be nice if they had a shock one, but I just don't anticipate it at this point. I don't know what they would shock us with. Yeah. It's kind of hard to shock us nowadays because almost anyone gets at least some wind of something.
Yeah,
right?
A lot
with all the influencers and all this other good stuff. Yeah. Guys like Braden seem to get good intel
ahead
of time. Yeah. He does now anyway. I don't know about it initially, but he gets pretty good intel now.
Yeah, he's been pretty close on a lot of things.
I don't know who he talks to. He obviously has some sort of inside information where he gets some of this stuff from.
Yeah, for sure. But a huge shock, like we've been talking about, would be Horizons if they built something.
Yeah, I don't know what they mean by that tagline. I mean, it would be nice if they were referring to the attraction in some way, shape, or form.
But I doubt it.
I kind of feel like they're not.
But I doubt it.
But I doubt it.
Yeah.
You know, an idea that I floated around that I kind of wish they would entertain.
Yeah.
Is almost like making sequels to an original attraction. I guess in a way they've kind of done it with Pirates because not every pirate story is the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess you could say they did it with Haunted Mansion because it's not the same, but they didn't really present it as this is like an attraction sequel, so to speak. Does that make sense?
All right. Okay.
Like you take one of the storylines and take it further. Like it's almost like
Well,
a second Haunted Mansion, perhaps.
yeah. A lot of people would say Horizons was Carousel of Progress's
Yeah, or take a
sequel.
defunct one.
So if you took Horizons, added
bring it
IP, and then made it newer,
At this point, what
That's the
IP
only
are
way.
you adding? Are you using the Tomorrowland film maybe as your IP?
maybe that didn't do that well, so I don't think they would use it.
No, I remember watching that one time. I can't even remember what all it was about now, to be honest. It wasn't that bad when I saw it, but
Yeah, it was okay,
obviously it
but
wasn't memorable.
Yeah,
I don't remember what it was
clearly
about.
wasn't.
Yeah, so that's the last time that they've done a film around a land. They should probably consider that again, right? Like making it Adventureland maybe.
Well, maybe. I mean, I'm sure they'll try something to get. I mean, they tried Haunted Mansion again, and I thought it was pretty good, but it didn't do well. So,
although, how could you do an Adventureland movie because you've already taken Jungle Cruise, Pirates, Swiss Family is already based on a movie. Everything in there is already movie related.
The Adventurers Club or whatever it's called, the Explorer. What is it called? Explorers.
You talking about the old Adventures Club? What are you referring to?
They allude to it in Skipper Canteen.
They allude to the Adventurers Club in Skipper Canteen?
Don't they?
They might have. I can't remember that. I think they did. But that was basically a nightclub on Treasure Island that was popular.
But they made a sort of story about it.
Revolving around it, impossible. I don't remember that part of Skipper Canteen. Of course, I've only been there once so far.
Yeah. Explorers and Adventurers. Anyway.
I started to say the Tiki Room, but you can't really make a good movie out of the Tiki Room. That'd be difficult.
They've already done Country Bears, but it was terrible, so maybe try that again. I don't know.
And most people think the Haunted Mansion attempts were not that great. Although I still like the original one they did.
The new one's good too, to be honest. I think the new one.
Yeah, I thought the new one was good. I thought the new one was a great story.
Just didn't catch on. It was probably released in not their best time, but
possibly. I mean, they released a
Halloween type movie
film in July.
Yeah.
So
and it was delayed, right, or something. Anyway,
yeah,
go figure. All right, well, we should talk about Lightning Lane changes a little bit before we wrap up.
I forgot about that.
Didn't seem like the first few days were the smoothest, which we didn't think it would be. But I've seen, mixed reports about good to book ahead and that kind of thing. But
it is a little bit too new to know for sure what the nuances are going to be surrounding it. So say, for instance, it's not a definite no. One of the complaints I've seen is most people are having trouble getting anything good day of so far.
Yeah, right.
That's
after you get those first 3.
That's been the complaint that I've seen the most. But then again, I've seen some people that say they had an issue with, and I think some of these are annual pass holders because I don't think the experience has been good for someone going
the 3-day
spontaneous. Yeah. It's not been good for the spontaneity, like of an annual pass holder. It's like, I have an afternoon free. I think I'll go over to this park, type deal.
Yeah.
And not having anything available. Then again, when they designed the original Genie Plus system, it was not really designed with the annual pass holder in mind in the first place anyway. So why would Lightning Lane be any different?
Yeah.
Right? So,
well, at least with Genie Plus, if you decided you were going to go, you could book at 7 a.m. and stack for the evening. If you were like, hey, I'll go after work or whatever, you could stack some stuff if you want to do it that way. But
I still think the biggest problem for the guest, I'm thinking of it from the perspective of the guest, is that I don't think they're getting the experience they desire because I think it's still geared around getting people to spend the money on the line saving techniques. The way they do it, I think it's designed to make the regular line be longer, no matter how crowded it is, which is similar to what FastPass Plus did to a degree whenever it was active and it was free. Right?
Yeah.
So now you have people that are having that situation, I think even longer in some cases, and they are frustrated about it. And in some cases, I've seen people talk about spending like $600 in a day, depending on the size of the group. Yeah, the cost is not going unnoticed by the guests, that's for sure. In comparison. But I don't see where the cost has changed any from Genie Plus, so that's not really a difference.
So far, anyway. Yes, it's not the holiday season yet, but I'm sure it'll peaked higher.
It has been gradually going up though, right? I mean, that's what we've noticed.
For sure. But so far it's in the 20s. I mean, $20, $20 to $30 range. But I think, what did it hit, 40 or 39 or 40 for Genie Plus was the height. So I anticipate it'll hit higher than that in the holidays, but whatever.
Yeah.
The thing I miss about and will miss about Genie Plus and having all the same day, kind of everyone had the same kind of level playing field, whether you booked your trip, the day of, or you had it booked several days in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone started at the same place the day of, which I kind of like that, because I remember back in the Fast Pass Plus days, I wouldn't book my trip until a couple weeks out, and by then you couldn't get any tier 1 stuff at a decent time. So you'd have to wait for same day and plan for a Fast Pass drop. So it's kind of back to that a little bit, where I like that it's only 7 days. I probably would grab what I could. But then I don't think they let you overlap like Genie Plus did, which...
Yeah, I've noticed that people are saying that.
So that means you have a lot of time in between, even if it's 15, 20 minutes. That's the other thing I didn't love about, Fast Pass Plus looking back is, having to try and get them as close together as possible, but still you end up with these like 20, 30-minute gaps between lightning lanes, in this case, where you have to figure out what to do for 20 minutes.
There is a lot of, I think, confusion for the average person, especially, that's starting to do this, that's going on. I have a group that I was joined into, I think, on Facebook. It's called Disney Genies, Lightning Lane, Multipass, and Single Pass Tips and Alerts, basically. I can't remember how I got invited into this group, but it is a private group. But it does have roughly 130,000 members to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So every post for the last day or so has been negative regarding this change thus far. Of course, there's been some people saying, let's give it some time to work the bugs out and stuff like that, of course. But, it's not been a very positive experience for those that are doing it or have seen it so far. Here's just an example of one I think is similar to the one I was telling you about a minute ago. This person says, wow, this is getting expensive. And before anybody says nobody's forcing me to buy the multipass or single pass Lightning Lane, I already know that. I know that standby lines are an option. But I have just been sitting here pricing it out, and if we buy multipass and single Lightning Lane for my family of 4, it adds up to $652 onto our 4-day trip. My family is 4 adults with no children. Everybody can pay for themselves, which is helpful. I think families are really going to struggle with this. There was someone without a family looking at it that way.
Yeah.
But, people who are not going frequently, are planning a trip out, almost like we were discussing how they do with the dining plan. For instance, they don't break down what they're spending. They look at the total price and think whether or not they can afford that type deal. And that's probably kind of how people are viewing this. Disney would probably really be able to take advantage of if they wanted to would be start selling packages that include dining and Genie Plus, or Lightning Lane Multipass Plus, and just all package it together at one price, and people would jump at that.
Yeah.
Probably pay more than they would pay if they did it individually in some cases.
Possibly because the price fluctuates, so they would also say you lock it in at a lower rate, or potentially.
Right. Yeah. And once they figure out how to do that, I wouldn't put it past them to do that.
No, they probably,
You know what I mean?
So I'll just quickly say the few things that I do like about it that's better than FastPass Plus is you can hold 3 at a time all the time. So FastPass Plus, you had to book 3, use 3, then you could get 1 at a time after that. With this, the multipass, you can have 3, use 1, use 2, and then add 2 more. You can use 1 and add another one to you can have 3 at all times.
That's just bringing a classic feature back.
Kind of, except that with Fast Pass Plus, you had to use those 3 first, then you could book another one at a time. This, you can always have 3, which I kind of like the idea of that.
Wait a minute. You had to use all 3 before it? I don't remember it being that way. Are you sure?
Yeah. You had to use the initial 3 before you could book another, or you just do them one at a time. You can do it that way if you're trying to do same day. But
well, that's pretty much what I did.
Advance, yeah.
I usually only booked like one that was more rare, and that's what I started with, kind of.
Yeah.
Usually.
But I think that's the idea that they're going back to, is the fact that most people will book 3, and that'll kind of be the backbone of their plan for the day, is getting those 3 in no matter what times they are. And they'll have like an afternoon one, maybe a couple in the morning. You don't have to wait to finish that afternoon one to get another one. So it's better that way. So for the
personally
regular guest, I think it is better.
You know what system I think worked better when they first did Fast Pass Plus is the fact that it was only given to top tier attractions, not all of them. I think it could work better if they only had select attractions available for a lightning lane and not as many as they have, because they have almost virtually every attraction that's possible have a lightning lane now. And if they could find out a way to make the remaining ones that don't have it work, logistically, they would.
Right.
But I think they should go back to having fewer lightning lanes personally, because there's a lot of attractions that just simply don't need it most of the time.
Yeah. Well,
and if you take that away, they definitely wouldn't need it because the line wouldn't lag.
Right. But they do it to book have something for people to book that don't know any different.
I think they could still work it out.
Because you don't need one for Frozen, Sing-Along, or Muppets.
Are you trying to tell me that Disney would just put them out there just to, pull the wool over people's eyes? I don't believe that.
Have you ever needed a lightning lane for Muppets? You literally use it and you stand in the same room as everybody else. It gives you 0 advantage.
I've seen people tap and go.
Yes, we did it to burn one back in the day. But you can modify, in the app, and those are good. I mean, I don't know. We'll get used to it. I think the kinks will get worked out too, and we'll get used to it at some point. I think it helps.
Look, it doesn't matter what system they do. There's always going to be a select few that can game it. The problem is that should not be the way it has. That should not be the way it has to be done in order to enjoy it, especially with as many people go.
Yeah. I'll say I think it's the best of both worlds in a way, that the regular day guests can get 3 and feel good about, hey, I got 3, skip the lines, we're good. And
it's like, I got Mermaid.
Right. I got PhilharMagic. This is great. And the folks like us who can really utilize it can still take advantage and get 20 a day or whatever. So,
what I actually saw in this group, I think somebody was complaining about the availability when it came to Tiana's.
For the little single pass?
Yes. But basically there were some people commenting about you could do the virtual queue, you just got to get in at this time, yada yada yada. And their response, which I kind of understand this, the virtual queue does not necessarily shorten your wait, at least not all that much. It's not a guarantee of a short line. That's really, the virtual queue is not as much for the guest as it is for Disney's benefit of not having extraordinarily long lines. It's not really a guest convenience as the virtual queue, to be honest. It's more for Disney. But think about it. I mean, it really is. Yeah. Because you can still, you think when you get in line for something or get something like that, you think this is I'm going to walk right on it. Well, it's not the case for virtual queue necessarily.
Only really Guardians if you show up early, or Tron if you show up early. But that's it.
Like Guardians, I mean, your virtual queue, the majority of the time, is still going to take you a while.
Yeah. I'd say the worst one is Tron, but although Tiana's probably could be long too.
It probably is pretty bad right now. You could probably still wait an hour on a virtual queue.
Possibly. Yeah.
Especially if it breaks down.
Right, that too.
Yeah.
All right. We should definitely wrap up. So
Okay.
as this shakes out, we'll get more info on it, but it's another change. It'll be fine. We'll get used to it.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
Are you sitting among the pines, Adam?
Yeah, exactly.
Saying this is gonna be fine.
Speaking of fine, where can we be found?
Found finally? No. Well, there's always Facebook. There's the artist formerly known as Twitter. There is Instagram. That's all at TWTM Podcast. We have the Spreadshirt store, of course, where you can get your exclusive TWTM merchandise. That is shop.spreadshirt.com/TWTM Podcast. We have the YouTube channel, which, where can that be found, Adam?
You can find links to that and more on our website, travelingwiththemouse.com. You can email us podcast@travelingwiththemouse.com. And for John, my name is Adam. This has been Traveling with the Mouse, and we hope you will join us on our next trip. Do you have anything to add?
Do I have anything to plug?
No.
I wish we did.
No doubt.